Good morning and welcome. My name is Sam Osey, and I serve on your fellowship board of directors. I want to thank you all for being here today and extend a special welcome to any of our visitors. Please join us after the service, in person or on Zoom, for our social coffee hour, even though our coffee pots are empty for today. Earlier this month, we transitioned back to hybrid services and in-person activities. Yay! However, we're not quite back to pre-COVID normal. Due to staffing constraints, childcare is not yet available. Masking continues to be required, and the Regathering Task Force is currently evaluating our food, beverage, and singing options and guidelines. We'll continue to offer our services on Zoom if you prefer to attend remotely. We greatly appreciate all that you have done and continue to do in continuing to keep this community healthy and safe. Please continue to check our activities status by reading the weekly email or look on the website. Other big things are afoot this month. The board, the RE committee, and our wonderful staff have finalized the job description for a new full-time religious educator, and the hiring process will begin soon. The RE classes, which have been meeting virtually the past few months, will soon return to RE in the Park in April. And the process of searching for our future interim minister is underway. For a better discussion of that work, I'd recommend reading the letters from Reverend Kent and our board president in the last weekly email. So, on behalf of this caring, nurturing congregation, I welcome each and every one of you to this sacred space. Here, we invite you into an experience of transformation, hope, renewal, and connections, which may inspire you to understand life in new ways. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning. I'm Dean Haug. I'm on the Sunday Services Committee along with Sarah Carlson, and we will be bringing you this morning's service. Our chalice lighting this morning is by Reverend Scott Taylor. We light this flame as an act of faith. We come with our doubts, worn out and worn down, wanting once again to trust, to believe that hope is not as fragile as it sometimes seems, that division is not as deep as it sometimes appears. And so we light this flame in an act of faith, a reminder, a redeclaration, a rekindling of the trust that darkness can't ever shut out the light, that kindness is more powerful than we know, that humility and accountability allow us to change, that together we can most certainly bend the arc of this beautiful universe towards justice.
Hello, friends. My name is Alyssa, and I'm the Science Program Manager at Boston Children's Museum. And today, we're going to talk about the spring equinox and how it's related to eggs. Every day, the Earth turns around all the way. It takes 24 hours. The side of the Earth that is facing the sun is in daytime, and the side of the Earth that is away from the sun is in nighttime. Maybe you've noticed that at different times of year, the days are longer or shorter, and that has to do with how the Earth travels around the sun. Every year, the Earth travels all the way around the sun. It takes just about 365 days, or 1 year. Now, Earth isn't straight up and down. It's on a bit of a tilt. And that tilt means that one half of the Earth will be tilted towards the sun and one away, and that makes the seasons. When the northern half of the Earth is closer to the sun, that half of the Earth is in summertime, and the days are longer. Twice a year, the northern and southern halves of the Earth get the exact same amount of daylight. They each get 12 hours. Those are called an equinox. Equi means equal, and nox means night. So they each get a day and a night that are the same length of time. At this time of year, that means that spring is coming. This year, the spring equinox will happen on March 20th. Now, what does all that have to do with eggs? Well, there's a story out there that you can only balance an egg on its end during the spring equinox. And I want to demonstrate to you that that's not true. It's a myth. I'm recording this on Tuesday, March 9th, and it will be posted sometime before March 20th. So you know that I'm not doing it on the spring equinox. If you want to balance an egg on its end, all you need is a steady hand and some patience. So the next time you hear a science story that seems like it doesn't quite make sense, try to prove it wrong. That's what scientists do all the time. Thanks for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to follow us on social media.
Well, today is the spring equinox, and as day balances the night, let's balance our faith with reason. But let's also balance our reason with faith. While it's no easier to balance an egg on its end today than any other day, and I saw some of you knew that fallacy, it's easier today to perceive the rhythm of the seasons through the length of the days and nights, the warmth of the air, the movement of the birds. And I don't know if any of those people who are in the fellowship hall this morning saw the little flowers starting to come up. If we choose, we can mark this passage with our intentions to make it holy. So pagan rituals at this time of year center on spring and balance and new beginnings and renewal. So I'd like you all to think of something you'd like to see manifested, perhaps in your personal life, or in your community, or in the broader world, and new beginnings of renewing faith. So I'd like everybody to participate. If you would, rub your hands together and clear your mind, calm your thoughts, and bring the energy and warmth between your hands. Now hold your hands together to form a cup holding that warmth and energy. Breathe in and out 5 times as you hold that energy. You can close your eyes if you wish. Now concentrate the intention you want to manifest in your life, in your community, or in the world. Keep your hands closed tightly to hold the intention tightly in your hands in front of you. And now visualize yourself within the manifestation of this intention. Breathe deeply. Now bring your hands in front of you towards your heart, right over your heart. And continue concentrating on making this manifestation real. Breathe deeply again. And then bring your clasped hands up to your lips and just open your thumbs a little bit and whisper your intention inside your hands. Close them. Now move your hands up in front of your head and open your hands outward to release your intention into the universe and wish it well. So mote it be. Our next hymn this morning is Faith is a Forest, and on piano is Brian Kenny, on flute is Catherine Woods, and the vocals are Elena Hemingway.
Faith is a forest in which doubts play and hide. Insight can hear the still small voice deep inside. Web of life, may this thread I weave strengthen commitment to all I believe. Vision be my guide as I seek my way. Lead me into this tender day. Speak through me in all I do and say. Seeds of both meek and strong are scattered in it. Dignity shines undimmed by bigotry's glare. Web of life, may this thread I weave help me bear witness to all I believe. Justice be my guide as I seek my way. Lead me into this tender day. Speak through me in all I do and say. Fortune and famine ride the swift winds of chance. Sorrow and pleasure seem united in dance. Web of life, may this thread I weave mingle compassion with all I believe. Mercy be my guide as I seek my way. Lead me into this tender day. Speak through me in all I do and say.
Our offertory recipient for March through May is the Community Academy Micro School. This new endeavor takes a different approach to education, engaging students in nature, relationships, and involvement in our community. Our very own Mike and Andy Todd are at the center of the Microschool's founding. Let's hear a few words from Mike.
We at the Community Academy think that these things that we're seeing in education right now are symptoms of a larger issue, a solution as engagement. And I think that's kind of unique, weirdly, but engagement. Let's engage kids in something meaningful. School should be more like real life, where we need to get kids doing active things every day, right? Out in nature every day, out in the community every day, working on things, working on real community issues, meeting real community people, being mentors every day, having mentors every day, right? This is a life that over 13 years we think impacts kids in a very different way, and we're trying to push education that way.
More information on the Community Academy Microschool is available at their website, thecommunityacademy.org. All gifts received for the Academy during March through May will be fully matched by Larry and Sue Kierson. You can make your gift by visiting our website, uufaames.org/give, so that we can keep track of this for the match. Or you can mail a check made out to the fellowship with the memo of TCA. Or if you're here in person today, you can leave your offering at the basket by the door on your way out. Thank you for your generosity.
This is a time in our service when our congregation gathers together to share milestones. And milestones are joys and concerns and thankfulness in our life. So at this time, we do this in 2 steps. The first step is with those in Fellowship Hall would have an opportunity to walk over to the microphone, state your name, and state your milestone, and I will light a candle for you. This is our time of sharing.
Good morning. I'm David Brenner, and I have a joyful milestone. A bit goofy. I've been shooting little videos, usually less than 5 minutes, of ice formations for years, and I have my own YouTube channel about this. And there's very poor production quality. There's not much to see, and there's my droning academic voice explaining what the ice is doing. Well, one of these videos now has 17,000 views, mostly in the last month. Apparently, it titillates people that are looking for certain ice textures. I get all these comments about yummy, and it's not even food. I'm not getting any money from this. It's just a comically weird thing. So my channel is The D Brenner, and it's about ice candling, and amazingly popular, and it doesn't really make any sense.
We might get a few more hits now. It looks like we're ready to open it up to those who are viewing from home. So if those from home. Done.
Good morning. This is Jane Reynolds. I'm joining you from Palm Springs this morning. I am going solo RVing, and this is my first, second day out on the road. And I just ask for your thoughts and blessings on my travels as I travel through California. And I think of all of you often and wish all of you the best and a very happy spring. The birds are chirping here and the wind is very strong, and it's supposed to be in the 90s today. So sending you warm weather thoughts. Have a great Sunday. I'm finished.
Okay, I will light one last candle for those milestones spoken and those that remain in our hearts unspoken, and ask that we keep all of these milestones in our hearts in the days and weeks to come. It's good to be together. Please join everybody in a moment of silence and breathing together. Thank you.
Faith is homesickness. Faith is a lump in the throat, by Frederick Buechner.
Once a reporter asked A.J. Muste, "Do you really think you are going to change the policies of this country by standing out here alone at night in front of the White House with a candle?" Muste replied softly, "Oh, I don't do this to change the country. I do this so the country won't change me." Frederick and Mary Ann Bressot.
How do we renew our faith when so much is falling apart? In these fragile days, we who assess life through the fire of reason find so little reason to trust that everything's going to be okay.
The climate is collapsing. Racism so often morphs more than it is removed. Politics divide more than they unite. Don't tell us it's slowly getting better. Don't ask us to deny this feeling of despair that feels so real. Oh, on so many days we have lost our hope for a better day.
But we do long for it, don't we? Despite the setbacks and slowness, there remains something inside that continues to say, it can be better. More is possible. I need to believe that goodness is real. It is a longing that lingers no matter what.
Maybe that's what the preacher meant when he spoke of faith as hunger for home. Maybe faith is more about remembering our longing for what we love and who we want to be, more than it is an act of restoring our trust that everything will work out well.
Maybe the peacenik was right. We must remain faithful to the fight, not because change is guaranteed, but to ensure that we are not changed. We have some special music by Shirley Serban, who has written some new lyrics to Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah that speaks to the current war in Ukraine and the current moment.
Now we dream of times we had before. We are all tired, we can't take no more. And you don't care for hollow comfort, do you? We're sick of this pandemic, disasters, war, it's lunatic, too crushed to feel the joy of hallelujah. 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 Faith isn't hard when life is well. It's brittle when you're facing hell, and I can't always be light-hearted for you. But know that I am at your side, more as a shoulder than a guide, even though we can't voice a hallelujah. 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 With confidence all but destroyed, I fling a prayer into the void to recreate when happiness flowed through you. But despite the news we hear tonight, and if tomorrow brings no light, I'll hold on to the hope of hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
Raise your hand if you like long sermons. Okay, this is going to be a problem because this is like 9 whole minutes and it's not cheerful. So we got to break it up. I'm a songwriter and I happen to have some material recorded that evokes some of the feelings I'm talking about. So if you'll please indulge me with these short musical interludes to break up the talking. And if some of them are not in styles that are to your taste, I encourage you to close your eyes and imagine the fellowship voices singing, or the UUFA recorder consort, or even our emeritus minister, Brian Esslinger, playing his bagpipes. And I look forward to the time when we can all make music in this hall together. Also must apologize for the use of ableist language in the message and in one of the songs. We all move in the world in different ways, and I hope that you interpret one more step and take the next step in its most expansive meaning. Here's a little musical interlude to get us all in a solemn mood. It's called Where Are You Now by my former band Glass Houses. John Kruger sings and plays guitar. I play the accordion.
We wander down a path in the woods like children holding hands in the old neighborhood. There was a dark shade growing underneath the eaves, and I let you go and never could retreat.
The opposite of faith is not doubt, it is despair. I probably got cut off there. Okay, the opposite of faith is not doubt, it is despair. This quote by the Buddhist teacher Sharon Salzberg intrigued me. In many stories, doubt and despair go together. An anguished cry of, "Where are you now, God?" when faith is lost. And in these stories, despair is overcome when doubt is overcome and faith is restored. That story is never spoken to me because for me, doubt in various forms evokes intellectual growth. Skepticism is an essential part of science, and I am a scientist by training. Doubt and reason are an essential part of our Unitarian Universalist tradition. We stand on the shoulders of heretics. Faith has always been a foreign concept for me. I've learned to respect religious faith. I've learned to suspend my disbelief for long enough to find beauty and meaning in the rituals, prayers, and teachings of many different traditions. But to the extent that faith means belief and trust in a higher power, I've never had it and I don't need it. But faith can also mean belief and trust in something else, ourselves or one another. And if that trust is expansive enough, it starts looking a lot like religious faith does in practice. And if that form of faith is compatible with doubt, then I am open to it. Maybe I've even experienced it. If faith is the opposite of despair, then that is something I need after all. It is something that our society needs. Unlike faith, despair is familiar to me. I've felt it the past 2 years, and maybe you have too. Here is the first verse of "We Are Broken," which I wrote and performed with my friend Ian Bruner on guitar. I sing. Gone to dust. All our institutions like machinery gone to rust. You can push on it, but the wheels don't turn. There's no one to trust. Even our own neighbors think we're crazy, and we push each other away. Take me back to the world that never was. Before I lost it all, I'm broken up, so I have to double down. If my past is wrong, I don't want to hear it. If the truth comes out, well, you know I fear it. So take me back to the world that never was. My experience of despair is not all-encompassing. I still find warmth at the hearth of family, friends, and music. But when I step out the door, the chill is bone deep. It's not just the terrifying problems in the world that get me down. As bad as those are, a global pandemic, the re-emerging specter of global war, the threat of catastrophic climate change. It's the way that our ability to solve problems has broken down, especially at the national level. Gridlock, a collapse of trust in institutions, an epistemic crisis. So many people don't even know how to find their way to the truth. My most cherished UU principle is the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. But in Russia right now, the search for truth is not free. Speaking the truth about the regime's invasion of Ukraine is now a crime punishable by 15 years in prison. Russian intelligence agencies are hard at work spreading information about Ukraine and NATO, often finding a receptive audience in America's right-wing media. In America, the search for truth is free but not responsible. Tech companies have created platforms where lies, hate, and outrage can spread more readily than truth and dialogue. Republican elected officials have been cynically undermining journalistic and scientific institutions, spreading lies about climate change, vaccines, and the presidential election. So, yes, sometimes I despair. If 1/3 of Americans cannot accept the fact of a presidential election after a year of high-profile media stories, impeachment proceedings, court cases, and congressional hearings, then what use is my job, educating the public about water quality? What use is writing letters to the editor? How can we have a fair contest of ideas if there is no referee, no shared set of facts, no shared values, if we cannot trust one another to argue in good faith? I feel like even NPR listeners need to scream into a pillow now and then, so here's a little punk rock meditation on our epistemic crisis. This is the first minute of Civil Discord by my band Glass Houses, Tom Thurlow on drums, John Kruger on guitar, I play accordion and vocals.
Whoa, hot, shut up, give me civil discourse. Shut the hell up, give me civil discourse. Whoa, hot, shut up, give me civil discourse. Shut the hell up, give me civil discourse now! 24 hours to fail. Not enough breaking news. So let's bring on the pundits and pontificate about who's gonna win or lose. Have you heard the latest allegation? We'll tell you how we think it's gonna play. With the target demographics and the swing states, it's true. That's not for us to say. Now give me down. Give me the one. Why don't you challenge my preconception? Now we're bringing in another production. Conservation, you know I'm stuff. Gotta see you wasted. Give me context. Give me clarity.
Bless us and forgive us in our contradictions. As I've said, faith is a difficult concept for me. Doubt is easier to appreciate. With all the lies and half-truths circulating in our society, don't we need healthy skepticism more than ever? But I've learned there is such a thing as unhealthy skepticism. When I lived in Wisconsin, I used to have political discussions over beers with my friend Jason, who is a libertarian and watches a lot of news. On most subjects, we disagreed, but since the conversation was lighthearted and we were both open to new ideas, it was fun for a while. Like many other Trump voters, Jason has very low trust in institutions. He doesn't trust the military, he doesn't trust the government, he doesn't trust Republicans, not Democrats, not the media. And he was just as mistrustful of universities and peer-reviewed science as he was of the fossil fuel industry, so had no way to distinguish good information from bad. No matter how many claims I refuted, he remained skeptical about climate change, undecided. If we have only doubts, the very ground shifts underneath our feet. We become paralyzed. In her book, Why Trust Science, Naomi Oreskes says, much of what we identify as science are social practices and procedures of adjudication designed to ensure, or at least increase the odds that the processes of review and correction are sufficiently robust as to lead to empirically reliable results. Catch all that? In other words, have faith in the process. In a culture of free inquiry, mutual respect, and critical thinking, we can tolerate mistakes, even big ones, knowing that eventually they will be spotted, discussed, and corrected. We can begin to move forward step by shaky step. You'll know this song. If you're joining us from home, I encourage you to sing along. This is number 168 in our hymnal. One More Step by Joyce Poley, performed by Scott DeVoe.
One more step, we will take one more step, till there is peace for us and everyone. We'll take one more step. One more word, we will say one more word, till every word is heard by everyone. We'll say one more word. One more prayer, we will say one more prayer, till every prayer is shared by everyone, we'll say one more prayer. One more song, we will sing one more song, till every song is sung by everyone. We'll sing one more song.
Enough epistemology. We can see how faith is essential for seeking truth in the scientific community, and we can draw parallels for how we seek truth and come together in our religious community. But what about in the wider world? How do we repair broken trust with our neighbors and in our institutions? I really don't know. But as Martin Luther King said, faith is taking the first step even when you can't see the whole staircase. This is not the same as hope. Theologian Andre Willis has studied MLK and described a lesser-known sermon, Unfulfilled Dreams. What Martin described in that sermon was that his dreams were not going to come true, that his project was ultimately going to fail, it had fallen short. But he knew that it was not going to be judged by what his hopes were and whether or not they had been reached, but by the quality and depth of commitment to himself and others in community in his own heart. So that's what I think about as a kind of deep hope. Willis explains deep hope with the example of Holocaust victims who would sing together in the concentration camps, certain that things would get worse, but finding strength in one another, as opposed to shallow hope, which is merely an expression that things should and maybe will go as we'd like. I hope it doesn't rain today. Please, everyone, do not let these terms catch on. I suppose it's the sort of thing that gets encouraged in seminary, making a word mean its opposite. And don't get me wrong, I think that the sentiment is worthy, but the terminology could be more precise. Hopelessness is not the same as despair. People in difficult circumstances can keep calm and carry on, can come together without any expectations that things will get better. We are seeing this right now in Ukraine. Sometimes it takes the form of a stoic determination, sometimes a willful ignorance and a focus on the step ahead of you, sometimes even a cheerful resignation. Often it is faith that allows us to persevere in the absence of hope. For Martin Luther King Jr. and many other Christians, the belief that God has a plan makes it easier to take that first step when you can't see the whole staircase. For Reverend Kent, God is in everything and has no plan, but the feeling of trust, of surrendering to the mystery and finding your way back on your feet, as he described for us last week, is much the same. For Sharon Salzberg and many other Buddhists, the feeling of surrendering to mystery emerges not so much from belief, but from practice, from meditation. Wherever it comes from, there is good reason to cultivate the feeling that all will be well, even in the face of evidence to the contrary. It makes it easier to extend trust and kindness with less doubt and hesitation, and eventually see trust and kindness reciprocated. If not in that interaction, then in our society. If not in this moment, then in the next life or in the next generation. Sharon Salzberg teaches that to move to a deeper faith, we must acknowledge our doubt and discomfort, but do not let it paralyze us. We must practice. This is a form of faith that an atheist can aspire to. I do not yet know what form my spiritual practice will take, but I am open to new possibilities, knowing that in this community, we need not make the journey alone. Let us have some music. This is number 1015 in our blue hymnal, I Know I Can, performed by Linley Wang.
The days be dark with storms, and burdens weigh my heart. Though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can go on. When sorrow heals my soul,
be strong. Though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can go on. My family in my heart, my friends in my soul. Though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can go on. And though the journey is long, the destination is near. Though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can go on. So friends, take my hand, and family, sing my song. When hope awaits at every turn, I know we will go on.
Today is the vernal equinox. It is a time of balance, with the night just as long as the day. To find our way in the world, we need a healthy balance between faith and doubt. If our faith is unquestioning, if we are too certain, we will stumble. If doubt is too severe, we will become paralyzed. We will never take that first step. In these times of fear and doubt, let us find balance by cultivating faith in ourselves, in one another, in our institutions, in a higher power if we believe, or if not, simply in that unwarranted, beautiful feeling that all will be well. Let us take that first step. Thanks for everyone who made this service possible. And a quick plug, we need more members on Sunday Services Committee. Encourage you to please, after the service, go to ufa.org/give to support the work of our fellowship, our offertory recipient, the Community Academy, and other initiatives important to us. And if you're joining us online, I encourage you to stay on after the service for some virtual fellowship, get to know each other a little bit better. And have a great week, everyone.